Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Flatiron Syndicate Motorsports Podcast. This show is brought to you by Flatiron's Tuning, your source for any aftermarket or OEM Subaru parts. Be sure to check out our store at flatironstuning.com and stay tuned with Flatiron's Tuning. Welcome back to the Flatiron's Syndicate Podcast. We're here in the shop today. We've got DP and Dylan with us. Today we are going to talk about a bunch of rumors that are swirling around out there on the internets. And as we know, everything that is on the internet is true, so there's a lot of interesting things out there as far as cars and developments that might be in the works. But Dylan, I think before we dive into that, there was a couple just like motorsports pieces of news that you wanted to touch on.
Yeah, I mean, we also had seen recently, the Goodwood Festival of Speed just happened, and Travis Pastrana was out there. I believe he took first in class and second overall in his group.
That was in the Family Huckster.
Yeah, in the Family Huckster. I think there was some other stuff going on, like wasn't Southern Ohio Forest Rally also like this last weekend? Yeah. Was, and then I think Subaru Motorsports actually took overall at Southern Ohio. Everybody's doing stuff with Subarus right now.
And it'll come up here a little bit later, but as we're recording this, SubiFest in California is next week, but as you're watching or listening to this, it will probably be this weekend, and there's an interesting piece of news that should be debuting at SubiFest, which we'll touch on that here in a minute, but we'll start with something else.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess continuing on about SubiFest too, like it sounds like Subaru has also committed to, sponsoring those events for the next year, so you can look forward to like more SubiFest, Boxerfest, Rumblefest, all across the U.S. It seems like Subaru is really committed to keeping those events going.
All the
Which
best.
Is good. Absolutely. All right, well, let's dive into the rumors. And in fact, because we mentioned SubiFest, one of the interesting rumors that is out there swirling right now is that Toyota has started developing the next generation GT86, but not BRZ, because the rumor is that Toyota is going to continue that car on, but they're not going to do it with Subaru. The details are still a little bit fuzzy, but it's gaining momentum. There's more details that are coming out. It's supposed to be the next version is supposed to come out, I think, in 2028. And the really interesting rumor is that it's still going to be rear-wheel drive, but it will have a version of the engine that is in the GR Yaris and GR Corolla, which would be real interesting.
I wonder if that means that in the next few model years, leading up to 2028, the BRZ and the current GR86, if they're going to be like differentiating the trims even more. Because I know, right now all the tooling is set up to have those models very similar to each other.
Well, the other interesting detail is that the BRZ and the GT86, they're all built in the same factory on the same assembly line. It's actually Subaru's plant. So, like one of the interesting details that came out is that basically, even though Toyota is going to split from Subaru for the next generation of the GT86, can't call it the BRZ if it isn't one, but still have Subaru build it. So, and I guess relevant to that point, Dylan, that's what's supposed to be debuting at SubiFest, I guess this weekend as you're listening to this, is, so the GT86 came out with the Trueno version that's got, Brembo brakes and I think Sachs dampers or something like that, so updated suspension and braking. And the rumor is that there's going to be a new trim level of the BRZ that's debuted this week as well, which I think is great. I think it's needed. As we're recording this, hopefully you watched last week's episode, where we talked to 900 BRZ about everything that he and the guys there in California found out about BRZ oiling and oil pressure and some possible issues there. So very interesting to see how Subaru's going to handle that, and then I like that they're doing this new version of it.
Yeah, I hope it turns out as like a strong push for the enthusiast market, because I felt like Subaru kind of made a few compromises in like the 2022 BRZ that we sat in the shop. I didn't feel like it was quite as like sporty as the average person that takes their car out to a car show or to the racetrack might want it to look and feel. it was a little bit more of just like the average daily, and like some of the things left to be desired would be like the brakes for me.
But I think they did that on purpose. I don't know exactly why, but I mean, when we were out there at the ride and drive, it seemed like they did that on purpose.
Yeah.
I mean,
their intent, it sounded like, was to bring those options in later. They wanted to get the new model out and then kind of like get people maybe 2 years on excited to like take the 2-year-old BRZ, trade it in, and get the new one that has the bigger brakes and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, maybe feel more like a sports car. Like, this was kind of the intro to sports car esque, and then give it something that's got some chutzpah and a little bit of, zhuzh up the things that need to be tightened up, like hopefully suspension and brakes and maybe a little more horsepower, maybe, a little more torque or something.
I think they did like a 5 horsepower tweak of the BRZ in 17.
5.
Put it in the comments if you remember. I think it was 17.
But maybe like 30 to 50 more?
No, I don't think
that's one thing I think a lot of Subaru enthusiasts are left wishing for in the current market. It's just like all these other manufacturers that are making sports cars are pushing these stock cars like 400 horsepower, 300 horsepower, like in small trim motors. I mean, the 1.6 in the GR is like 300. So,
and that's what's interesting about this Toyota rumor, because it makes sense on a lot of levels. Yeah. Like right now the car makes, was it 220 horsepower, like
something
at
like
the flywheel.
Yeah.
So like you figure, I mean the GR Corolla is 300, GR Yaris I think is 260. It would be easy for them to put that motor in to a rear-wheel platform in the GR Yaris trim, make 260 horsepower.
That'd be a ride.
And that would be a ride. Now, the argument against it, and one of the theories why they've never come out with a turbocharged version of the BRZ, because remember, the Levorg has a 1.6 liter turbocharged engine, Subaru boxer engine that, like, it should literally be a direct drop-in, it probably isn't a direct drop-in, because if it was, somebody would have done it at this point.
Do it, people.
But
someone figure it out.
Yes, but Subaru has that engine, that small displacement boxer engine that's turbocharged, that could give the BRZ a little extra oomph. But the reason that the theory that has been circulated why they didn't do that is because they would then put the BRZ too close in competition to the Supra. So now that they've got like the 4-cylinder Supra, which is, gosh, I want to say it starts at like 40, 42, 45, something like that. If you have a turbocharged Supra that's like 35, 37, but is close to it in performance, like now it would just be, why would you buy, a harder decision. Toyota would be maybe competing with themselves too much.
Maybe, but names hold some value there, so like if you want a Supra, you're probably going to buy a Supra. Even if you can buy a BRZ that would be comparable, like there's something to be said for names holding that, like, the legend, effectively.
Yeah, and the Supra, it goes up to a higher level when you get to the 6-cylinder. Like now you've got the I guess it's not a dual clutch, but it's the paddle shift automatic, and though now they've got the manual version of the Supra too. So I mean, I don't know. It kind of makes sense, and maybe what this is leading up to, because the Supra doesn't get as good a fuel economy as the BRZ. A smaller platform like the BRZ that's smaller, lighter, more aerodynamic. Maybe, because for 2028, man, fuel economy is going to be paramount.
Right.
Well, I mean, for Subaru, if Toyota really is splitting off and making their own new version of the GR86, then it kind of makes sense to try to make a competitor to the Supra in that sense,
Mm-hmm. Well, no, because Toyota's
I know Toyota has the Supra, and they're still kind of manufacturing stuff with Subaru, but like if Toyota really is trying to split off, like they're talking about, with this new motor, not using the Subaru motor anymore, maybe having a Subaru motor, that's making 300 plus horsepower in a chassis like that would be a really cool option for the enthusiast market. As someone who is really in love with Subarus, that would sell me, I think, on a BRZ for sure, like to take to the track, something like that. And I love Subarus too, but I definitely would love to have a really like track-oriented BRZ that has like Brembo's 300 horsepower and like that higher tier. So hopefully something comes out interesting this weekend. We'll see.
You just made me think of something that is like, I left my tinfoil hat at home, but I'm going to go there because why not? This is the rumor mill, right? So, okay, when Subaru killed off the STI, it was literally a couple of weeks later that Toyota announced the GR Corolla. And that is a very similar car, very competitive car, and basically Subaru removed that competition. What do you think the chances are that Subaru, because like Toyota is a really big car manufacturer, they're one of the world's largest car manufacturers, they have a ton of different models. Subaru is a small manufacturer, they don't have a lot of different models. The BRZ was kind of an oddball for Subaru when it came out. It sold reasonably well, but the deal with Toyota was always that Toyota would get way more production than Subaru did. It was more of a platform for Toyota than it was for Subaru, right? So what if part of this deal could be like Subaru's letting go of the BRZ, they've got the plant built, they're still going to build a plant, but now maybe this opens the door for Subaru to come back with something that would, like maybe it'll be the end of run for the GR Corolla and now Subaru would take over.
That would be interesting.
So
the new hot hatch era of Subaru.
So again, like the second tinfoil hat layer here, there's been new rumors that the next STI, the electric one, has been moved up from 2030 to 2028, which is also the year that the rumor mill is saying that this new GT86 would come out. So Toyota kills off the GR Corolla, they've got their new GR86 with whatever engine, and then they would clear the way for Subaru to have the all-electric STI in the same year.
And would that help everybody's fleet with the CAFE standards that are being, going to be required for fuel economy? If the STE, being whatever it's going to be for MPGE, is going to be able to like offset whatever kind of super whippy, chrome-plated, high-performance thing we're going to make.
Well, and even more to the point, I'd say that where it would be an advantage for probably both manufacturers is, if Toyota is not as enamored with going with an electric performance chassis, but Subaru's already announced that they want to do it. And then so Toyota, just to kind of clear the way for Subaru to try that model out, because again, Toyota owns part of Subaru, Subaru owns part of Toyota. There's motivation for both companies to kind of work together.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it could be like a cool dueling banjos thing, like which one's gonna, is the STE gonna be the hotness, or is the GR powered?
But the other thing, I don't know if Subaru's ever going to be able to have their own electric platform.
Right.
Well, or like conversely, what if we started this new era of like getting back to the Evo versus the STI? Like, what if it became Toyota versus Subaru in this sort of like artificial boxing match? Like, who's got the cooler car? Which one do you want this year? There could be something really cool to that if each company could kind of make these little developments that the enthusiast market might want one way or another.
Yeah. I mean, it could honestly be interesting. Just simply put, like, to let each manufacturer put their own spin on the platform, kind of like what they're doing now, but maybe to a larger extent, because there are people that are Toyota fans that will always buy Toyotas. There are people that are Subaru fans that are always going to look for Subarus, but there's people in the middle that could go either way. And like with the BRZ and the GT86, they're really similar. There's not a lot of difference. There's some subtle differences, but it's like it'd be real interesting. It seems like it would be a harder decision of which one do you want, which way would you go? Do you want the Toyota or do you want the Subaru, because they're so similar? If each company is allowed to make them a little bit different, then I don't know, maybe the Subaru is more horsepower, it's got more track modes, and then the Toyota is more like less performance oriented. It's got very similar capability, but it's more comfortable ride, better interior, more quiet. It's not as performance oriented,
that's usually what I hear people say was their selling point. Like if I ask someone, why'd you get an FRS? Why'd you get a GT? Why'd you get a BRZ? Usually someone will say, this one was more comfortable. Yep. It isn't that there was a big thing that sold them on it. It's just, I like the interior on this a little more. I liked the way it felt, sitting in it. It rode a little softer, or it was a little more stiff, one way or another.
Interesting thing that I'm, kind of circling around in my little brain right here as I'm caffeinating, so watch out, it's going to get dangerous, is that if they're going to do this 300 horsepower 3-cylinder potentially in the GT86, what's Subaru going to do? Like, what engine are they going to put into theirs?
Well, I don't think they're going to have one. Subaru has such few cars. Mm-hmm. They do not have the latitude that Toyota does to make up for a car that gets worse fuel economy by like sheer volume. Because I think the Corolla is still one of the best selling vehicles out there. I mean, they're probably selling, I'm going to guess, twice as many Corollas in a year as Subaru sells total cars. Because Subaru hasn't even hit 1 million units sold in a year yet, I don't think. And
I mean, Cars and Coffees will show you. Like this weekend, I was out at Cars and Coffee with Viet, and I mean, we saw probably 5 Corollas, 3 non-GR, just like the two-wheel drive 2022 up body style, and then like 2 GR Corollas. I think maybe 1 2022 WRX, and there's a smattering of old Subarus because it's Colorado always. But as far as the new cars that were there, it was interesting to see how many Corollas there are actually out there.
Sure.
And then it's funny playing that game of like, oh, is it a GR or is it not?
Yeah.
And check the brakes. What do you see? How slammed is it?
Like, right. Yeah. Well, the wide body
does it have a rear seat?
Exactly. Yeah. Does it have the wide body?
Yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting. It's so far out. It's hard to say. And like 2028, in theory, all of the changes that are supposed to be in place by then, like it. From a car manufacturer standpoint, I think it's going to be a reasonably different landscape at that point than it is now. So I mean, it's kind of wait and see. But this is the rumor mill, folks. This is just fun to have a discussion.
Yeah.
All right. So, kind of related to this, the next rumor that I think we should touch on is that the rumor is that Honda is going to come out with a new S2000. And the rumor is that it will have the Civic Type-R engine in it, but it'll be, a rear-wheel drive convertible like the S2000. And it's supposed to be, this one is supposed to be closing in. The rumor is that it's going to come out late 2024. Maybe it's a 25 model. This rumor is getting more momentum. I don't know if all the internet news agencies are kind of feeding off each other, but they're all putting it as, we should see it next year. So, I would figure that there's got to be like a pretty close concept reveal or something by the end of this year or very early next year if this is all really true. But it's interesting. What do you guys think?
I love it. I as much as I love like the Forester and that for function and fast, little 2-wheel drive sports cars are super cool, and like S2000s are just iconic. Like they are 10,000 RPM, 6-speed roadster, all the fun, and to bring that back with a really really potent engine. You just hope it comes with a proper gearbox. And
I mean, I wonder if when they announced the new NSX, there was rumors at that point that Honda was looking at coming out with an S2000 because one of the weird things when Honda and Acura re-released the NSX is that it's the hybrid twin turbo V6 with a hybrid electric drivetrain. And the cost of it just skyrocketed. I mean, it was the most expensive Acura ever by far. Like, not even close. I think MSRP when they first came out was like $180,000. Crazy expensive car. And so the NSX, when it left in 2005, it was still an expensive car, but it was like $100,000. And it wasn't that complex. It was still just, it was 2005. I mean, kind of like the Stone Age compared to where we are now. But, it was just a standard engine rear-wheel drive. And so there's a lot of complaint that, Honda and Acura, you're coming out with a sports car, but it's basically supercar price, crazy expensive. And there's this huge gap. There's nothing for, the average Joe to aspire to.
Yeah.
And so that was, there was talk of the S2000 coming back. Hasn't happened yet, but now, again, there's this kind of strong rumor.
With the push to electric that's coming in a lot of manufacturers, I wonder if performance-oriented cars will make more of a shift to these rear-wheel drive, smaller, sporty cars. If a manufacturer is going to still make an internal combustion car in 2028 or whatever, I would imagine there is going to be a lot more pushing towards performance and enthusiast cars for internal combustion. And then, you know, most people will be looking to a more electric or hybrid option just for their commuter and daily.
Just from an efficiency standpoint, like assuming how strict the fuel economy standards are going to be by that point, it would kind of make sense that it would be a smaller, lighter, more aerodynamic, more efficient car. I mean, all of those things can fit well with the model of a fun car, of a sports car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be a hoot. I think just the one thing I would really want in that car, though, is a manual transmission. Like, I don't think a CVT is going to do it for fun in that. Like, I mean, I know that if you harken back to those dark days, like, you know, the Tesla Roadster, you know, and things of that nature, yeah, they're fun to drive, but there's something about being connected that you just, like, especially in, like, remembering, you know, my buddy Josh's S2000, like, that car was a hoot, and you felt really in that car.
And if there's two companies that are keeping the manual transmission alive, it's Honda and Subaru.
Yes.
So if you look at all of the manual transmission options that are out there, the majority of them are Honda and Subaru. Toyota also is coming back, like GR Corolla is a manual transmission, and then oddly enough, a lot of the Toyota trucks are available in manual. So hey, save the manuals.
Yes,
it's still out there. What I'm hoping is that Honda, if they really do this, they're going to target the Supra. I mean, I think that, like right now, the Supra would be the natural like benchmark for an S2000. It could do it. It could do it with that 300 horsepower engine if it's light enough, which I think would be great because the Supra is a little bit on the heavy side.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see.
That would be crazy to see, because like I don't know that in origination that was like, you know, where they were competitive wise, like, you know, the Supra was, you know, it was so much earlier off than
way back when. That's interesting.
Yeah, like wind up your Wayback Machine here, guys.
Because I mean the Supra kind of died off before the S2000 came in, but I mean I would say that they were kind of in the same ballpark back then in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Maybe it was punching a little over its weight.
Or filling the same vein like the people were looking for, just at slightly different times.
Yeah. It's definitely one to keep an eye on, and with that one, it's in theory so close at hand that we should really start to see some concept cars, more details start to come out, like just confirmation sooner rather than later.
It'd be cool if like that actually brings some competition into this kind of sport compact rear wheel drive space and like really pushes the bar for people like Subaru and Toyota. And, you know, hey, let's get some competition going. Let's get some development, see some new motors, some real cool new packages. Like
when the enthusiasts have 2 or 3 really good choices, I mean, then that's when things get really exciting because like there's more competition for the sales and stuff like that. I mean, I think that's a good thing for everybody.
I agree.
You touched on it. There's one electric rumor that I think is worth touching on. Then we'll actually get to some more Subaru specific ones. But Toyota supposedly announced. So Toyota's been one of the front runners in development of solid-state battery technology. And they made this announcement that in the lab they had this breakthrough with their battery tech, that they now have a battery that they say will have potentially up to 700 miles of range, which is okay. But the crazy part of it is they're saying that it will be able to recharge, like a full recharge, in about 10 minutes.
Dang.
Wow.
So this is not a rumor. This is a press release. So the technology at least has been vetted in a lab.
Mm-hmm. It just needs to be put into work and like actually, you know, applied into something. Yeah.
The reason I wanted to bring it up here is let's say that is exactly possible. Like in a couple of years, because they say that this is literally just 2 to 3 years away from scalable production. That all of a sudden you have an electric car that could potentially have, you know, a 10-minute recharge in a 700-mile range. Is that a game changer? Is that kind of like this flipping point where all of a sudden, like...
For sure. I mean, I think that's a huge thing that prevents people from potentially even putting like manual transmissions and funny setups that are more like internal combustion cars with electric motors is the range. You know, if you're already running an electric setup, you don't want to make the compromise of like losing some power to a transmission and having a setup similar to like an older internal combustion car. And having that crazy like range boost and the ability to store that power better and probably in a way lighter way means that you could do a lot more of these weird swaps. Like, hey, I've got this 6-speed manual in my S2000, but the motor blew up. Like, I'm going to do a conversion and, you know, have this 300 horsepower, 400 horsepower electric motor that I can, you know, drive like an ICE with, you know, a manual transmission. I think something like that would kind of provide a lot more options for the aftermarket, because right now it's just like Tesla motors and direct drive swaps and stuff like that. That's really useful. You know, there was a little bit of like old development where you'd see some cars that had big electric motors on manual transmissions, you know, converted ICE cars, but the range was terrible. They would have very low power output if they had okay range, and there was always compromises. So having new batteries could be huge in that space too.
The thing is, to me, it's like 700 miles in 10 minutes is ridiculous. But honestly, I would almost be more excited for 350 miles of range in a 5-minute recharge in a battery that weighs half as much.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, I think that it's, I mean, just as far as like what this could potentially mean for the future and development of cars, you know, is get the electric cars to the point where you can recharge them in the ballpark of the time that it takes you to put fuel in the tank. That's awesome. But then also to get the weight down, because what's super interesting is how heavy all of these electric cars are. I mean, they're real heavy. And I think when you're talking about a sports car, a performance car, an enthusiast car, they're now starting to come out. Like there's certain platforms that are, you know, they're electric, but it's, you know, it touts being an enthusiast car, a performance car. But the weight is the thing in the back of my mind that I'm always like, I wonder, like, what does it really feel like to drive, you know, this BMW i4 M50, like the new Hyundai Ioniq 5N, that are 5,000 pounds. Like, it accelerates really fast, but you're navigating a 5,000 pound car around, you know, like up a canyon or around a track. Like, that's got to feel way different than a 2,800 pound ICE car. You know,
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, harkening back again, because I guess I just like to, I live in the past. Like my old car, my old Lincoln, weighed somewhere in the realm of like 5,500 pounds or something, and it was a tank.
Yeah.
It was not fast in any regard, but that was, you know, that was other things. That was a 400-inch engine that had like 90 horsepower, but just driving it at speed, like when you're hurtling through space, for lack of a better term, like down the highway at 80 miles an hour. Yeah. You're just like, I am the biggest thing on the road. Right. And so if you're in a small car that weighs 5,000 pounds, you're just like real stocky. You're like, that sounds weird. Yeah. But I like the idea, like, kind of you know, something in that 700 mile range. Just thinking about like my road trips, going back home to Michigan. Yeah. Something even at 350 miles. I mean, because like, you know, we usually get gas around 350, 400-ish miles. To be able to stop and like recharge in that time. Yeah. Would be cool.
I mean, solid-state batteries promise to be a game changer for electric cars. In like Toyota coming out with this, you know, proven result in the lab of what is coming down the pipe is it's just interesting. Yeah, I kind of want to see what happens with it. Okay, let's bring it back to Subaru. There's two Subaru rumors here at the end that I want to touch on. First one is a rumor. The rumor is that Subaru is developing a truck, or it's coming out with a new Baja. I'm not sure which. There's kind of been a couple stories in each direction. The truck kind of makes sense. I mean, and I think at the time the Baja was categorized as a truck. So I mean, it literally could be the same rumor. I think that's a possibility. Just, you know, from probably an emissions standpoint and a functionality standpoint, I think there might well be a demand for a Subaru truck. Yeah. And then like the Baja demographic, there's people that love Bajas, that want to use the Baja, that like the Baja is the ultimate car. I think they missed it. Like, that's why the Baja had such low production, because it was like, we'll call it ahead of its time. Yes. So when the Baja was out, they literally sat on the showrooms forever. Like, nobody bought them. Then once they go out of production, then everybody kind of woke up to what the car could do or why the Baja existed and what made it cool. And then now everybody wants them, and there's just not that many of them out there. What do you think of this?
I think it's awesome. If they had something in like the old Tacoma size, like that would be a phenomenal addition to Subaru's fleet.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. There's a lot of people getting into that Outback Wilderness Edition market right now. I mean, there's a huge following for those cars. It'd be really easy, and I mean, I've seen a bunch of Photoshops of just chopping the top on those, and it's basically a Baja, right there. You just have to change the tooling and set up the shell a little differently, and it could practically be the same chassis, which is really crazy.
I think it's awesome. It has a lot of potential. I think what Subaru has to do to really hit it out of the park, and honestly, I don't know why they haven't done this to date, is to really take the next step beyond what they've done with the Outback Wilderness and the Wilderness versions of these cars, where they've got a little bit of a lift and a little bit more capable of a vehicle off-road, but just a skosh. They need to lean into the off-road capability of their cars.
Yeah. I mean, IAG is going into that Bronco market now. They're selling Bronco parts. What if Subaru tried to make a car to compete with the Bronco somehow?
Oh, man.
A hard top Outback Wilderness Edition that you could go off-road with, or like a Forester Wilderness with a hard top or something that you could turn into a crazy off-road rig. I mean,
that'd be cool.
So you gotta remember, in the Australian market for a long time for the Outbacks and stuff, Subaru had a high-low transmission. Mm-hmm. So if you want to go off-road, you want to lift the car up a little bit, you want to put a bigger tire on it, you really at some point you need, especially if you're not making a lot of power, which I mean, 4-cylinder engine, it's not really. Mm-hmm. You need that low range to be able to still utilize the bigger wheel and tire combination. They have it. They had it, and they put it in the Australian market. They exist, but then they never brought it over here to the U.S. And I think that there's a bit of a disconnect from Subaru. Like if you go way back to the GL, the Loyale, they had a high-low transmission.
I was gonna say I think there were a couple in the U.S., but they weren't anything special. I faintly remember my mom's old GL wagon. I think it at least had the disengageable 2 and 4, but I might have had a high-low too. I don't remember.
They definitely had high-lows. So it's and way back in the day, one of the selling points of the GL, the Loyale and whatnot, was how capable they were, but as a wagon or whatever, and I think that in part that's what has brought people back to using Subarus to go overlanding. That's why there's so much enthusiasm around the Wilderness Edition of the Outback and Crosstrek and so forth. Is that you've got this car that it can be your daily driver. You're not going to get 10 miles to the gallon in it. You can actually drive it, use it, enjoy it, but it's still reasonably capable off-road. Subaru has this opportunity to just really look at the off-road and what tweaks could they do, what modifications could they make to make it just that extra bit capable off-road, and I think it would be a home run.
Absolutely. Yeah. They've got we mentioned this, they've got access to Toyota's fleet of goodness.
Yeah.
That if they really put all their heads together, they could get something with some kind of a pickup version of an Outback, like a Baja, or something in that realm that could be functional as a truck.
Yeah.
Have some clearance, have some bigger tires, because Toyota's got all these options that are out there.
And just what do you need to really be able to utilize that bigger wheel and tire package? You have the clearance and get a little bit of extra clearance, and then just the gearing, the drivetrain to really be able to utilize it.
And then, with Subaru's new global platform, all of these cars are on basically the same motor combination now. Yeah. So, I mean, in theory, you'd have a lot more ability for the aftermarket to support the same motor in the WRX as in this new car, as in the Ascent, as all the different chassis.
And Subaru, that the demand is there because you've come out with all these Wilderness Editions. The demand was there. There were aftermarket companies that were coming out with these lift kits. Subaru paid attention to that, and then they came out with their own Wilderness Edition options. So I mean, they obviously know that the demand is there. I think it's a cool thing if they bring back the Brat or bring back the Baja, or they bring back a truck or come out with a truck. But I think they just have to take it to that next level and think of off-road capability. because like that's so many, especially in the truck market, that's off-road capability is such a big thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right. The last rumor here. This one doesn't fall into the rumors because this actually happened. Prodrive has basically done a concept of a 2023 WRX. So, and it's making make its way around the internet. They basically, they tweaked the performance a little bit, largely with brakes and suspension. They did not put it in STI 6-speed. That was a little bit surprising. But it looks really cool. Now in the UK, there's rumor or discussion that they might actually make it like a limited production availability or something like that. But first and foremost, just what do you think about Prodrive tweaking a WRX in this way?
That is awesome. You're talking about a pedigree of like excellence and like performance. It's weird that they didn't put an STI 6-speed in it because 5.5 speeds not good. 6 good.
I think it might be more trying to actually market it as an option for this new chassis, right? Like Subaru doesn't seem like they're interested in putting a real 6-speed in it, which sucks so far.
There's an interesting rumor about that. We'll come back to it. But
another rumor.
Another rumor. I think it makes sense that they would put those AP Racing calipers on it, clean things up, make it look a lot nicer.
Yeah.
And keep it in a trim that is somewhat marketable as something they could bring to the people.
It's so close to the standard WRX that it would make sense that, like, okay, now Prodrive really could produce this in quantity for whoever wants it.
And I thought in the pictures I'd seen, it looked like it was body matched cladding, which I think is a huge improvement.
Yeah.
I know that there's all the testing and all the technical data behind it that people that are way smarter than me are like, oh yeah, well it does this. It's like, well that's great, but it looks like
it does this to my eyes.
Yeah.
It's growing on some of us. I don't know, but yeah, for sure.
I mean, that would also be a really cool thing as just that single option alone. The Prodrive body matched fenders for any WRX of that gen.
Definitely. So the rumor, because I alluded to it, and this one is like real rumor. Get out like the third layer of the tinfoil hat. But it's that Subaru is paying attention to like this demand for the STI 6-speed in that platform. We made a video just expanding on why we think Subaru should do it. But apparently there's rumors that Subaru is kind of testing the waters with like how much of demand really would there be for just the WRX, but with the STI drivetrain in it.
Oh, it'd be so good.
Subaru Motorsports, give us a 2022 to 6-speed swap. We'll help you test.
We will swap that thing and show you all the goodness.
The biggest thing, and this is the strongest point that I made in that video, is like they already have the transmission.
Yeah.
The transmission is there, the drivetrain is there. They don't have to develop anything. It's literally just you have it, put it in.
Yeah.
Just put it in the car. Make it an option. It's just all of a sudden it would just, I think, as more and more people are really starting to warm up to the car and the platform and the potential, if Subaru just did that one little step, it would turn the WRX into, I think, from a good car and a fun option to a home run.
Absolutely, the shifter would feel better. It'd take the power because people are putting huge power to this chassis already, like with very low-ish effort. So it's more effort to put the 6-speed in at this point than it is to make the 600 horsepower engine.
Yeah.
So they've got a potent engine. Put the good trans with it.
And again, they have it.
Yeah, it's there.
They literally
exists.
have it.
Like they just have warehouses of them.
It seems like such an easy no-brainer. I would love to know. The only excuse I could think of from Subaru's standpoint is cost. But even if you charge the difference, and you put it in there, and then it's like you get the WRX with it, the WRX without it. So basically, you're still making money on the car, no matter which drivetrain is in it. Make it an option. Put it out there and see what the enthusiast wants.
And I bet if they did an option like that, I would bet you it would outsell. Like with the STI 6-speed, would outsell the WRX 5.5 speed.
I think they would both sell well. I bet you that the standard one would sell more, because there's so many people that don't want it from the performance standpoint, that they just want it because of how nice of a daily driver car it is, all that sort of thing. But I would bet you that they would sell more WRXs with the STI 6-speed than they sold STIs in like the last couple of years that they produced the STI, because It's still going to be a little bit less expensive. It's not going to be as much of a potential compromise as some people look at moving from a WRX to an STI, just from like a harshness standpoint, all that sort of thing. I think it would do really well. I think Subaru, you should do it and you should find out. And even if I'm wrong, Subaru, you should try it and prove me wrong.
Yeah.
So maybe we can get a couple of them in the shop and all that. So
we'll do some A/B testing. You know?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Indeed.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Even talking to people, I just met someone last night who didn't really understand that difference between the 5.5 speed, the 6-speed in the WRX, and the 6-speed in the STI. So I do understand the flip side of it too, from like a market standpoint of like there is a big portion of the market that really doesn't understand that level of like, is it worth having a DCCD? Is it worth having the bigger gears?
Yeah.
What does it mean to have an R180 in the back, like a bigger rear diff?
And there's still there's a disconnect that they're even different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, exactly.
What's happening, like, it doesn't happen that often, but it's happened, a handful of times, is that people get a 6-speed swap. They're putting it in the car, and they're reaching out to us because we've got so much experience with it, and then all sorts of stuff that we said would work doesn't work. And then we say, okay, well, give us the serial number on the transmission, and we look it up, and that's a WRX 6-speed. That is not an STI 6-speed.
It's a 6-speed out of a WRX from 2015. Like,
right.
What do you mean?
And
it's a
like,
6-speed.
Those are different. It's not the same. The same things don't work to swap it in. So I mean, even at that standpoint, we're seeing this kind of disconnect in certain circumstances about what the actual difference is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But see, by the same token, Subaru, the last point I'll make here, because it has a 6-speed in it, you could just put it in there. You could not even say anything. You could just put it in there.
Next year, it's just the better one.
the enthusiasts will figure it out. They'll just go like, they did it. It's in there.
And it'll be no different to the layman WRX buyer. They'll say, hey, this 6-speed feels really good, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What's this button down here in my center console?
What's this
That's right.
What's
right.
DCCD?
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Yeah.
Call the guys at Flat Iron Tuning. They'll tell you.
That's right. Cool. Well, so that's all the rumors that I've got right now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with us. Hearing us chatter about them. Let us know what you think about any of these. If you think any of these are really good, if Subaru should really put a 6-speed, SCA 6-speed into the new WRX.
Yes.
And if you've got any other weird, wild, tinfoil hat rumors that you've heard that you're curious about, put them in the comments. Maybe we'll research them, and I don't know, maybe we'll come back and make this more of a regular thing.
Yeah, let us know your rumors, your theories, your ideas, your dreams. What do you want Subaru to do? Let us know. I mean, hey, all you can do is put it out there. As we said, they're looking at that Prodrive version and testing the waters with that. They're testing the waters with the 6-speed apparently, and all we can do is ask. You never know. Right?
Yeah,
it can't hurt to ask.
Right. All they can say is no thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Well, thanks again for watching. Thanks for your support as always, and until next time, stay tuned to the Flat Iron's Tuning. Thanks everyone for tuning in to the Flat Iron Syndicate Motorsports Podcast. Once again, we'd like to let you know that your support is what makes this show possible. Be sure to check out our online store at flatirons.tuning.com for any of your aftermarket or OEM Subaru parts needs. And as always, stay tuned with Flat Iron's Tuning.